Thank you, Kaylee. Good morning. Nice to see everybody this morning. Thanks for coming inside. It's a beautiful day outside, and we'll get you back outside in plenty of time. The reenactment is at 11 o'clock. Takes about 5 minutes to get down there, so we'll be out in plenty of time. We are going out that way through the bookstore. I'll be around for a couple of hours if you're interested in purchasing one of my books and interested in me signing it for you. I'll be happy to do that, and that'll take place in the gift shop probably till about 12:30 or 1 o'clock. So we can do it right afterwards or after the reenactment, but you don't want to miss the reenactment. That's way too much fun along the way. So we'll get out in plenty of time. I want to talk about one of the most iconic paintings that is a part of the whole San Jacinto experience. And it's this one here. You've probably seen this picture, but I need some help. Do I have any 7th graders here? I need a couple of 7th graders. Nah, that was last year. You're an 8th grader. Any 7th graders? I know there's one. About an 8th grader? All right. Okay, I got a 7th grader back there. Come on. All right. Okay, you also. What's your name?
Jacob.
Jacob? Yes. And Rain? Is that right? This is Jacob and Rain. Okay, now I want y'all to help me. Come over here. We're going to look at this painting up here. Have you ever seen this painting before?
No.
No? Okay. You've seen it before? Okay. They're going to help us figure out who some of these people are, okay, for a few minutes here. There's 35 people identified in this picture. How many of you think I know all 35 of them? Nah, I don't. No. How many of you think I'm just going to make up names as I go along here? Yeah, no, that's not right either. Okay, all right, so we're going to start right here. Let me get my pointer out. We're going to start right here with this guy right here. Who do we think that is? Any idea? He's the general of the Texas Army at the end of San Jacinto. Anybody? Anybody out here? Sam Houston. There we go. Okay, there's Sam. Now, Sam is laying down, and it looks like there's something wrong with his leg. What do you think happened?
He's injured.
He's injured.
Shot.
Yeah. Did he get shot? Mm-hmm. He did get shot. He got shot in the ankle. Now, y'all help me with this. As he is charging in front of the army into the Mexican camp, he gets shot in the back of his ankle. Is that what we call friendly fire? Is that okay? Maybe there were some people who were a little impatient. I don't know. Anyway, so he's got a musket ball in the back of his ankle, and it shattered some bones, and so that's why he's laying down there under this oak tree in this particular painting. And he's really the center of attention in this picture here. Right? Okay, now let's see who else we have. This guy right here. He's sitting there, he's got his arms, he's got his sleeves all rolled up, he's got a back. Who do you think he might be? Not by name, but what do you think he's doing here? He's sitting there. He's a doctor. Yeah, very good. This is Alexander Ewing. He's a doctor. Now, back in those days, you probably wouldn't want a doctor anywhere near you because, But this guy went to medical school back east, and so he's like a real doctor. And he's taking care of General Houston here, wrapping up that ankle, although Houston's going to have to go all the way to New Orleans eventually to have surgery in the summer of 1836. So we got Dr. Ewing here, and he's taking care of our friend Sam Houston. Now, over here, this guy here, I need you to do this for me, Rain. When I point here, I want you to say, who is that guy? No, just say, who is that guy? No, but I want you to say, who is that guy?
Who is that?
All right. She wants to know who that guy is. I happen to know. Okay. All right. Now, he's got his hand up here like maybe he's a little hard of hearing. His name is Erastus Smith, but they call him Deaf Smith because, okay, all right. So, and he's right there, and he's kind of listening in, isn't he? Now, he's pretty famous in the story before the battle was even started. Sam Houston sent him to burn one of the bridges so that nobody could escape from the battlefield. And so he's come back right before the battle and reported that he's burned the bridge down. Nobody's getting away in that direction. So we got him right over here. Let's see. This guy right here, he looks kind of important. You just say, who is that guy?
That guy.
Who is that guy? All right, he wants to know. I know the answer to that. All right. This is Santa Anna. Antonio Lopez de Santa Anna, the Generalissimo of the Mexican Army and the President of Mexico, and he is offering his surrender to Sam Houston here following the Battle of San Jacinto. Now, he doesn't really look like a general, does he? Okay, I mean, he should have like all the epaulets and all the buttons and stuff, but he doesn't. In fact, he's in a private's uniform because when he was escaping during the battle, he didn't want people to know who he was, so he put on a private's uniform and disappeared into the crowd of retreating Mexican soldiers. But they found him a little bit later. We'll talk about that in just a minute. So there's Santa Anna. He's right there. This is one of his generals right here, Juan Almonte. And Almonte is also one of the ones who surrendered at this battle along the way. So, all right, now, Rain, do this for me. Say, who is that guy? Who is that guy? She wants to know. I happen to know the answer to that. This guy here is Moses Austin Bryan. He is Stephen F. Austin's nephew, okay? Now, this is kind of odd. He's sort of kneeling down there. Now, here's the Mexican general and another Mexican general, and there's Sam Houston, and they're talking to each other. What do you suppose Bryan is doing, kneeling down right in the middle of that?
Being chimoso.
You do what?
Being chimoso.
Yeah, maybe so. What do you think? Why would he be there kneeling down kind of in between these guys? Any idea?
To see what they're doing.
Yeah, to see what they're doing and what they're saying, because Sam Houston doesn't speak very much Spanish, and so Moses Austin Bryan, who is fluent in Spanish, is translating while they're having this conversation. And that's why he's kneeling right there, sort of in between, kind of helping things out. Let's see who else we got here. Ask me who that guy is.
Who's that guy?
Who that guy is, he wants to know. That's James Perry. James Perry thinks the battle's still going. I don't know. He's waving his hat and running around back in the background. He's all excited about things going back here. Let's see. Let's look over here. This guy back here.
Who is that guy?
Who is that guy? She wants to know. His name is Joel Robison. Mr. Robison was one of the Texans who captured Santa Anna. And so he's back there kind of sitting tall, looking pretty proud that he was one of the ones who found Santa Anna and brought him back in to the camp where he would surrender. So Robison's back here in this painting. Let's see. Let's go down, see who else is here. Right here. Who is that guy? That guy is Sidney Sherman. Now, Sidney Sherman was one of the company leaders in the attack itself. He was over on the left flank, and you see back here, see that flag? We think there was only one flag flying during the Battle of San Jacinto because flags were not, a big deal at that moment. There's a revolution going on. And we think Sidney Sherman's group were the ones flying that flag. We also think that this guy, Sidney Sherman, may have been the first one as they're charging over the rise to holler, "Remember the Alamo!" And all of a sudden everybody is shouting, "Remember the Alamo! Remember Goliad!" as they went into the Mexican camp. So that's our friend Sherman right there. This guy right here.
Who is that guy?
Who is that guy? This guy right here is John Wharton. And he was part of the battle here. His brother William Wharton started a little town named after him. The town of, oh good, very good. Y'all are right on. No, it's the town of William. No, it's the town of Wharton. You're right. The town of Wharton, his brother, the town of Wharton, and the county are named after his brother William Wharton. This guy right here. Who is that guy? It's Edward Burleson. Burleson was also one of the commanders of the Texas camp, very important before and during and after the Battle of San Jacinto. Burleson accepted the surrender of Almonte. So he's standing right behind Almonte going, I got you, or whatever. I don't know what he's doing. Okay, anyway. Okay, let's see. Let's got a few more here. This guy right here.
Who is that?
Who is that guy? His name is Ben McCulloch. Now, let me tell you, you look up Ben McCulloch, this guy is a story all unto himself. I mean, he is a little bit of everything, everywhere, before the battle, after the battle, in the end of the 1840s. Ben McCulloch's adventures, you would think it was some made-up novel. I mean, this guy was absolutely amazing. He had a brother named Henry, who was also pretty involved in things, but this guy, Ben McCulloch, oh my goodness, phew, he was something else. He was great. Okay. Back here, right behind Ben McCulloch.
Who is that?
Who is that guy? That's Mirabeau Lamar. Mirabeau Lamar is from Georgia. He has just arrived in Texas. He was a reporter, an editorialist, who wanted to see what was going on with this Texas thing. And he really has just arrived the day before the battle. He is involved in a skirmish with some Mexican troops, and is so courageous and brave in that little skirmish that General Houston gave him a field promotion right there on the spot the day before the Battle of San Jacinto. And so Mirabeau Lamar is standing there. Later, Mirabeau Lamar is the second president of the Republic of Texas. And so here he is, just a reporter from Georgia involved in a battle, and a few years later, he'll be the president of Texas. Quite an interesting guy right here. And one more, Rain.
Who is that?
Who is that guy? That's Thomas Jefferson Rusk. T.J. Rusk, who also had just come here from Texas, from the East Coast a couple of years earlier. By the way, just as a trivia, okay, of these 35 guys here, how many of them were born in Texas? 25 or more? 15 or more? 10 or more? 5 or more? Not a one of them was born in Texas. How about that? Yeah, all those guys. Now, Thomas Jefferson Rusk was named after a former president of the United States, right? John Adams. No. Thomas Jefferson Rusk was named after what president? Thomas Jefferson. Yeah, absolutely. Okay. And so that's pretty, there's actually a guy over here who's also named George Washington. So, you know, that was kind of a thing back in those days along the way. But I want to look at one more guy over here. Let's see, where is he? Trouble finding him. Oh, look at there. Look at that little head just over that guy's shoulder right there. He's barely in the picture. Wow. Who is that guy? James Monroe Hill. Wow. Look at that guy over there. Hey, thank my friends for helping me here. Great. Thank y'all. Great job. All right. James Monroe Hill. Now, he is 18 years old in this picture. He was born in Georgia. His family, a big family of cousins and grandparents and brothers and sisters, had all come to Texas just a couple of years earlier and settled here in Texas. And so James Monroe Hill volunteers to be in the Army, and he's there at the battle. He was in Burleson's company over here. But, you know, there's not any other real story about James Monroe Hill and the Battle of San Jacinto. He was one of the younger guys there. There's no particular anecdote of him being, you know, famous or brave or some kind of courageous action. Like most of these other guys who either during or after are going to become very, very famous, James Monroe Hill sort of disappears off the history books very soon after. So we wonder, well, I wonder anyway, how does he get in this picture? Why is in the painting? And I'm glad you asked, because I know the answer to that. All right, here's the deal. We're going to skip 50 years to the year 1886. It's the 50th anniversary of the Battle of the Alamo and of the Battle of San Jacinto. And in Texas, they're having a big, big celebration up in Dallas. The Texas Veterans Association, which has veterans from the Battle of San Jacinto, from the Mexican War, from the Civil War, are all, many of them, gathered in Dallas for a big 50th celebration of the 1836 battles, including 143 veterans and their families and many others there. It's a big celebration. Now, there's a 39-year-old painter named William Henry Huddle. He lives in Austin. He aspires to be a pretty famous artist. He's gotten a few jobs so far. He had just done a painting of the governor's wife, so he's got a little bit of attention from the government. And he's heard about this celebration that's going on up in Dallas. And he's decided, he's inspired to do a painting depicting some part of the story of the Battle of San Jacinto. And where better to go to learn more about it than to the Veterans Association meeting up in Dallas. And so he travels up to Dallas. Now there's only about half a dozen survivors from the Battle of San Jacinto 50 years later who happen to be there at the meeting. And so Huddle finds them, gathers them together and says, "Tell me the stories of the Battle of San Jacinto." Now, a few of the guys, older guys, Walter Paylane is there, Moses Austin Bryan is there. They have some memories of the battle, but there is a 68-year-old named James Monroe Hill who remembers the battle like it was yesterday. And he begins telling the story to Huddle about some of the events that happened at the Battle of San Jacinto. In fact, one of the stories that he tells, I'd never heard this before, but one of the stories he tells Huddle is that as some of the guys are charging over the rise and into the Mexican camp, you know, they've got the old muskets. They've got to load them one musket ball at a time, take them out the pouch, do the thing, and then while they're in the dead run. So to skip one of the steps of having to go through all of that and not stop in the middle of the battle, these guys put the musket balls in their mouth so that as they're running along, they can literally just spit it out and not have to be reaching into a pouch somewhere. Got musket balls in their mouth as they're running into the Mexican. Isn't that weird? Wow, that was amazing. That's one of the stories he told. And he is so fabulous at storytelling that William Henry Huddle goes back to Austin with lots and lots of notes and lots of these people that he wants to put in the picture. And out of gratitude for the great stories that this James Monroe Hill had told him, he paints him into his picture. Isn't that great? And that's how he gets in the picture. And that's not the rest of the story. Wait a minute, we got some more things to go. All right, now it's about 8 years later. Huddle's painting has now been painted. It today is on the walls of the state capitol in Austin, not too far from a fabulous painting of David Crockett, also done by William Henry Huddle, and both of those are hanging in our state capitol today. But it's 8 years later, so it's 1894, and there's 6 of the last survivors of San Jacinto who have gathered right here on the 4th of July. I don't know why you'd put 80-year-olds out in the prairie on the 4th of July, but anyway, there they are, and they are literally walking around this prairie. There's nothing here. About 250 yards over here, there's a little cemetery, but there's nothing else out here except prairie grass as far as the eye can see. And these 6 gentlemen are wandering around together, sort of pointing at different places. I think this is where that happened. And I think that's where the camp was. And as I remember, I think maybe Santa Anna's big tent was right over there. And then we ran over here, and they're wandering about for a couple of hours. Back over by the ferry, there are some dignitaries there waiting. There's some reporters there. There's some ladies from the DRT who are going to serve lunch a little bit later, while these old guys wander around. And one of them is James Monroe Hill. And as he's wandering around, remembering again all of the great things that had happened that he still remembered just like it was yesterday. And they reported later and told everybody, this is where it happened. And you know what? We need to put something here. We need to put some kind of monument or some kind of statue or some kind of marker here on this prairie so people will remember the Battle of San Jacinto. And it took 6 more years. It's 1894, led by James Monroe Hill. They went to the state legislature and convinced them to put up $10,000 to buy 34 acres right here where you and I are sitting. What's that today? About 10,000 square foot? I don't know, but that's not very much money. But they purchased the 34 acres. But they didn't have any money to build a monument. They didn't have any other monies they just bought the land, and there it sat. Now it's 10 years later. It's 1904. 88-year-old James Monroe Hill passes away. A long, interesting, sort of off-the-screen life in which he had made some really interesting contributions. That's not the rest of the story. The word continues on into the opening decades of the 1900s. The DRT and the Texas Veterans Association still wanting to put something out on this prairie. And they've gone to the legislature over and over again, and they've gone to governor after governor. There have been 11 governors now come and gone, and they still haven't been able to get there. And now it's 1930. And finally, people are waking up to realize that in 6 years, 1936, will be the 100th anniversary of the Revolution and of the Battle of the Alamo and of San Jacinto. And, by the way, the 100th anniversary of the city of Houston. And so 1936, just 6 years away, we got to start doing something. And so they raised $3 million. And they expected the actual cost to be about twice that. But they raised $3 million. They were all ready to go. And now in the summer of 1932, the Great Depression, and all the money was gone. There would be no 100th anniversary. There would be no centennial celebration in Texas. All the money was gone. The Great Depression had struck across America, and it seemed like it was done. But 2 years later, in 1934, an agent of the federal government from a very oddly named agency, the Works Progress Administration, had come to talk to the state legislature in Austin. And he said to them, you guys need to celebrate the centennial. We need to lift up the spirits of Americans and of Texans and really, be proud of what we are and remember who we are and not let this depression get to us. So, the government is going to offer you matching funds of $3 million to keep the thing going. And in 1934 and 1935, they began raising funds. Other groups started pouring in money here and there. And before you knew it, they had raised $21 million by 1836. And across the state of Texas, they were going to celebrate the great centennial anniversary. And that year particularly, there was a great big huge week-long thing in Houston in the summer. Back in March, there was a 5-day celebration in San Antonio marking the anniversary of the Alamo. And in April, of 1936, there would be hundreds gathering here to celebrate the centennial of the Battle of San Jacinto. It was a grand affair. Hundreds of people, dignitaries from all over the United States and even from the world, come to be a part of what Clarence Wharton, historian, had called one of the greatest 16 battles in human history. Right? And there they were gathered. The keynote speaker was a wonderful, fabulous speaker. Oh my gosh, he was so inspiring. He talked about the heritage. He talked about the history and sort of a personal sense of how much this had meant to Texans for all of these years, and how glad we were finally to be able to actually celebrate and the groundbreaking of what would become a fantastic monument on these 34 acres. The speaker that morning, on April 21st, 1936, was George A. Hill, Jr., the grandson of James Monroe Hill. And that's the rest of the story. Thank you all very, very much for being here.